So this camera, this Sony FX3, is literally over 4 years old, and it just got a really interesting firmware update over 4 years after it's been released. So let's dive in and see what's new in the firmware 7.0. There's a couple of options when it comes to updating the camera, but I would go with the Creators app. I've been using Creators app to update my camera, and I've actually made a YouTube short about it some time ago. So if you want to find out how to do it with Creators app, you can find it in the corner of this video or on my channel. And I think this is the safest and easiest way to update your camera. Okay, let's see the features that we get. First up, the Big 6 home screen. And we can access it by pressing the custom button 4 or trash button, and we can see the most important info and most important settings when it comes to operating our camera. But to be able to access it, we're gonna have to go into our menu, our shooting settings and image quality recording settings, and then we're gonna have to swap that mode setting when it comes to SNQ mode setting from SNQ mode to fixed variable. And that's gonna tell us that we're gonna be able to access that menu with the custom button 4, which is that button over here, which is the trash button as well. We're gonna press OK, and then pressing this button we can just toggle it off or on, and we see all our settings when we want to, or we can just come back to the regular view when we want to use this view. And here we have all the settings, and we can actually press on them and use the touch to change them. So we can change our FPS from fixed to variable, and that's another thing that is new here. So basically this is a new SNQ mode where we can just change all the settings in here. So we can have 2 times slow motion, we can have 4 times slow motion, and then we can just come back to fixed, where we have our frame rate that we set with our codec. The next setting is the ISO or exposure index. So we can change the exposure index over here, or we can change our base ISO by pressing on them. Super easy, super cool to use. The next one is the shutter angle. Again, we can just adjust it by touching the screen and set our shutter value or shutter angle. Next we have iris or aperture. We can press on it and change our aperture by pressing on the screen again. We have a LUT setting, so we can change from S-Log 3 or any other LUTs we want to display our footage in. So if we want to see the footage after correction, we have S709. If we want to just see it in S-Log, we just press on S-Log. But I usually view my footage after the transfer to Rec 709. And then we have our white balance, where we can change our white balance too. So this is actually really cool when it comes to accessing all the most important settings in one place. Another new thing that you can notice here is the fact that now we can see available space on each of the cards. Before it used to show us both cards at the same time, so it would show us 3 hours and 48 minutes in total. Now it shows us that the first card has 3 hours 42 minutes and the second card has 6 minutes space. So this is pretty useful when you just want to know how much footage you've recorded on each card. Another addition is the fact that we have more aspect ratio when it comes to anamorphic squeeze. Before we only had 1.3 and 2.0x, and now we have additional 1.5 and 1.6. So now we can shoot on those sort of lenses with the FX3 without needing external monitor, and we can just de-squeeze the display when it comes to shooting with this kind of anamorphic lenses. We can also now add the ND filter density into our metadata of our files, so we can just choose of how much of ND we've added to the footage, and then we can see that value in the metadata when we editing the footage. Another interesting update is the fact that now we can output Blackmagic RAW through HDMI to the Blackmagic Video Assist. It's kind of hard to show you that one because I don't have the Blackmagic Video Assist, but I'm definitely considering getting one. And I think it's a really cool addition, especially for those who edit their videos in DaVinci Resolve like I do. Because DaVinci Resolve doesn't really support the Apple ProRes RAW, which we will able to use in the Atmos Ninjas. So now Blackmagic RAW is another option we have for recording RAW footage from our Sony cameras and editing them in DaVinci Resolve. There is also added support for the focus magnifier and auto magnifier in manual focus when we're using the bright monitoring feature, as well as some less interesting but still very useful for some additional features that you can see on the screen. So while this firmware isn't a massive update, it's still very good to see that Sony is still delivering updates to a camera that is over 4 years old. I'm really happy with this update. I'm really happy with buying this camera. Let me know in the comments which one of the updates you like the most. And I think this is it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.